transforming operations, labor, and machines. This is a collaboration between S&P Global Market Intelligence and CAI Software, who build production-oriented software solutions that create actionable information to empower manufacturers, processors, distributors, and the graphic communications industry. Before we dive in, let me quickly frame our conversation. The bottom line is this: to stay competitive, manufacturers need better, faster, automated data to thrive. In this session, we'll start with today's situation, recognizing that while adoption is high, true maturity is uneven. We'll expose the roadblocks and reality, essentially cost fears, crippling data silos, and the skills gap that hold many of us back. But we aren't stopping there. We will introduce the connected solution, a clear path to move from mere visibility to full control. This is where the real value is unlocked. Finally, we'll give you your next steps to get started. Let's maximize this session and build your connected future. A few housekeeping notes. This is being recorded for demand viewing. The S&P Global Highlights document, namely Pragmatism Drives Industrial IoT Strategy, highlights from Voice of the Enterprise, Internet of Things, the OT perspective, is the source for many of the insights shared today. You will be able to download the entire report at the end of the webinar. Rosanna Jimenez is partnering with me in this webinar. Rosanna is an analyst on the workforce, productivity, and collaboration team, where she leads coverage of frontline employee work management and collaboration. Welcome, Rosanna.
Thanks, Neil. I've been a part of the 451 team since 2018, with my recent areas of concentration, including AI use cases in productivity, collaboration, and work management. Neil, what's your background?
I've been working in manufacturing most of my career, and most recently enjoying working side by side with manufacturers to help them get the most out of their people, processes, and machines. CAI customers through our manufacturing execution system ShopView and our connected worker platform Passable turn data into action, driving them closer to their factory of the future goals. The core problem is that manufacturers are drowning in unstructured data, not lacking in data. Rosanna, you are going to share some impactful market stats that highlight drivers and motivations to explain why IoT is non-negotiable to remain competitive and best utilize your industrial assets.
Just a little bit of background on the data I'll be referencing today in our methodology. All the data comes from the Voice of the Enterprise IoT survey on the OT perspective, which comprises of 702 web-based surveys conducted with a base of IT, end user decision makers in the US. Their survey was fielded in June of this year. So let's take a look at what is driving these IoT initiatives. Based on our data, here are the drivers for organizations that we see. The top three are saving money and cutting cost, optimizing business processes and operations, and increasing overall revenue and enhancing sales.
I see down there in number 5 on your list is reducing risk. It's important to find good partners to work with you in your digital transformation strategy, right?
Yes, absolutely, Neil. I really just wanted to point out these quotes that we included here. They're very interesting and they really help to paint this picture of the data. Quote 1 comes from a senior manager who said there are loads of sensors that need to be brought into a more managed service. And it would be nice to be able to turn up on a site before something breaks. Really touching on both that cost cutting and optimization as well as processes and operations. The second quote here from a different senior manager who essentially hits on all of those top three IoT drivers, saying it's about efficiency, it's about automation and productivity, which indirectly or directly contribute to cost savings.
Yeah, some great quotes there.
Yeah.
So we have an idea as to what is driving IoT initiatives, but what are the primary motivations driving interest specifically in moving towards autonomous operations?
Mhm. Yeah. Again, reducing costs comes at the very top, followed by increasing uptime or reliability, improving safety or compliance, compensating for labor shortages or skills gaps, enhancing decision making with AI and machine learning, sustainability and energy efficiency, and competitive differentiation. We have some more quotes here. Quote one from an IT engineering manager who provides us, again, a really clear breakdown of the value here. He's talking about saying that autonomous operations that they work with in IoT to monitor problems and generate service tickets, it dispatches that data out to their operational people to do the repairs. They use smart analytics to determine out of all of the jobs which will bring the most value to the company. And quote two comes from a senior manager whose main priority was preventative maintenance. And they said, we ping the sensor, we make sure that the health of the equipment is okay, we do predictive maintenance using the data that we collect, and we also do preventative maintenance.
Yeah, both predictive and preventative are great drivers and use cases for anyone in manufacturing.
So in addition to machine PLC and IoT devices, the other source of good quality data used to track, run, and improve the performance of manufacturing sites comes from humans, from the shop floor workers. Neil, I understand that this metric came from a survey that the Parsable team conducted a few years back, and it highlights how some management teams still haven't really taken those steps to digitally empower their teams.
Yeah, absolutely. A staggering 79% of factory workers still rely on paper-based documentation and
Wow.
checklists to track their work and communicate with their team. In many cases, management has been hesitant to move away from these paper-based standardized operating procedures, these workflows, these checklists, to digital work instructions. And the reason they gave us might be that they were concerned that technology in general would create more work for employees or be difficult for them to use. However, our research suggests that frontline factory workers are now ready for more technology. They're ready to embrace technology in their day-to-day operations, just like they do in their home lives.
Mm. Neil, can you explain how many of your customers view their data maturity as a journey and how they turn that good quality structured data into the decision-making engine that they really need to successfully run their operations?
Yeah, absolutely. So the graphic here you're seeing is really, consider it a maturity curve for leveraging data and the benefits of data. So it's stage one there that says what is happening. That's all about having visibility to the current status and putting a foundation in place to check off low-hanging fruit and gain some quick wins, right? So putting an MES or connected worker platform in place will optimize your labor and at the same time will start collecting useful data to focus the priorities for your continuous improvement initiatives.
Okay, so with disconnected machines and paper travelers, you don't really get to leverage that data in real time. You might collect it, you may key punch some of it into an ERP, but lagging and honor-based reporting does not provide that real-time visibility, right?
Yeah, correct. And I'll tell you a story. And I love walking out on my customers' shop floors, and I've got a couple of instances where I walk out onto a factory floor and they've got digital performance boards everywhere, right? One per department, and it's there to support Gemba walks or QRQC workflows. And these boards have machine status, they have overall equipment efficiency, OEE performance. You can drill in and you can go into Pareto analysis for downtime events, for scrap reason codes. You get your 5S safety metrics straight in your face. You can drive into the details behind that and any action plans as a result of that. And you get visibility into the performance and the status of each asset, right? Whether it's a human with kind of overall labor efficiency metrics, or whether it's a snapshot of whether the machine is running, what order it's working on, and the efficiency rating that's there. So you don't get that if people are filling in a clipboard and a paper. You just don't have that real-time visibility into your manufacturing performance. At stage 2, it's the next logical step to take, right? And that's turning that information that you're collecting into knowledge, right? So that you can understand why an adverse activity is happening, right? So with accurate information in real time, so this is, remember, from your machines through IoT, from your humans, from an MES or a connected worker platform, you'll be able to use analytics and BI tools to really focus on those processes and those workflows with the goal to improving yield, right? You're going to better monitor your production, your quality, your process controls. And a lot of this is owned and maintained by continuous improvement or lean manufacturing teams, right? And they require these tools to discover patterns and kind of turn that information into knowledge that then they can put pokeyokis in place and fix problems. Stage 3 gets a little bit more advanced, right? You're now trying to get into a prediction model and trying to of what will happen, right? So you can be comfortable as leadership, as operations leaders with your planning and your business model. So a practical example of this is to track machine process data, right? Temperatures, pressures of a molding machine, for example. So you can better prepare for tooling changes and or predictive maintenance that you mentioned earlier on as one of the big drivers. Now, stage 4, this is perhaps the kind of the nirvana stage. This is where you get autonomous actions and self-optimizing systems. This is coming for many industries, whether we like it or not, but the reality is that most of the manufacturers that I talk to, as they are evaluating their digital journey, whether it's MES or connected worker, they're putting themselves at stage 1, right? But they're not often able to actually get that stage 1 visibility into what is happening in real time. I'm going to take a break and we're going to share a short video from a CAI customer that embraced the digital journey and has a passion for data.
I'm Bob Hansen, and I'm currently the head coach of body sealing system here at Hutchison Sealing Systems. We produce the sealing systems that protect your vehicle from wind noise and water leaks around your doors and glass. If you have wind noise and water leak, it's my competitor because we produce only good parts. I joke it with my employees that I'm a drug dealer. I deal a valuable drug called data. I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to good data, trying to create an environment where I can predict the future. And I can only do that with the next generation of information that's driven from artificial intelligence and the IIoT concepts that are commercially available for the industrial applications. We're building the model out by the utilization of different IIoT sensors to be able to capture the prediction model to allow us to get to some of the causal analysis. If you take a look at the journey that we're on, we're truly in the first phase of it. We have analyzed data sufficiently to the exploratory phase. We have really good relationship with the data collection models in utilizing ShopView, our MES solution, to be able to do that. If you haven't gone forward to pick a partner with the MES, there's a lot of companies out there that are big companies that are professing that they have a good MES solution. The reason I went with CAI is because they're a mid-cap company. working with firms my size, but they're extremely flexible, able to meet my needs and my reporting requirements. And in that partnership, we've been able to really yield amazing benefits through the data that we've been collecting together.
So you just heard from Bob Hansen, the CEO of Hutchinson Body Sealing Systems, and he deployed SharpView MES as his foundation and his neural network. That's his term. The puzzle pieces that are coming into focus here represent data strategies to identify losses in their hidden factory and generate error-proofing processes to resolve those operational deficiencies. Foundational for them was deploying SharpView's direct-to-machine interface, our IoT solution, to track data directly from their PLCs. What they got from that is an example of a stage 2 data opportunity from the prior slide. And that was they were able to understand that they were dealing with a 10% unplanned downtime event on specific assets. And they didn't have visibility into that prior. So automated and-ons, right? Connecting the machines to their maintenance management system and their maintenance engineers, enable the support team to ensure that all of the assets producing product, right, producing revenue, were having the focus that they needed and benefiting from, maximizing the reliability and the uptime from those assets. In the first year that Hutchinson deployed SharpView, and they're deployed in 5 sites, they improved productivity by 15%, a decent ROI.
Next, we are going to transition into our next segment of the session where we're going to talk about some of those roadblocks and the reality to adopting a comprehensive IoT and digital transformation strategy.
So, Rosanna, what do organizations consider to be the biggest barriers to achieving the highest levels of autonomy in their operations?
Yeah, so our data shows that the top barrier is high upfront costs or unclear ROI, followed by cybersecurity and risk management concerns, integration complexity across legacy systems, workforce resistance or organizational culture, data availability or data quality issues, lack of proven use cases or technology maturity, and regulatory or compliance limitations. And we have a quote here from a senior manager who said that from a business case standpoint and from a cost management standpoint, that is the pain point. The question is really, is it going to be more efficient in terms of streamlining and automating processes? Is it going to be increasing productivity of the end user? Or is it directly or indirectly going to save costs to generate revenue? These are just some of the questions that they're asking. Okay,
so not having a clear path to those outcomes before you start an implementation project is, of course, a challenge when making a case for investment, right? Going to your CFO and asking for a check. My advice to all of my prospects and customers is to ensure that all stakeholders have their critical success factors well defined that's important for them and their team and their department before they start the workshop and blueprinting exercise. And at that point, you're able to validate the ROI and the business case during each phase of the subsequent deployment. And I'll touch on that a little further later on in the session.
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. So now in that previous slide, we saw some of those concerns around risk management and implementation and integration complexity, which are, again, very valid, but we are seeing organizations begin to embrace, I guess you could call it a more pragmatic approach to autonomous operations, which it's really all to say, yes, these roadblocks might slow us down in the process, and they are valid concerns to address, but the cost of inaction far exceeds the cost of a phased integrated solution, which is why, as you saw, the data shows that cost reduction and enhanced operations are those top drivers and motivators for both IoT and automation initiatives. And I really just wanted to note this, that workforce resistance and organizational culture is the fourth highest barrier to operational autonomy. And I really don't want to dismiss that. It's a very complicated and entrenched nature of manufacturing work, right? Both for frontline employees and their managers. And from my view, many organizations and employees have gotten accustomed to inefficient, cobbled together systems, and sometimes they look at an investment in tech to be waste or even distracting, right, to the status quo. And operations that rely on frontline work, they tend to come, I guess you'd call it more a reactive mindset, a reactive stance of cost reduction, not that proactive stance of automation or optimization, I should say. So we analysts, we really like to try to pinpoint those origins of what has led to the present trends that we're seeing or some of the common challenges in various industries. And when it comes to industrial organizations, I see that the slowed pace of digital transformation, partly, not entirely, but certainly partly, stems from, strangely enough, this long held assumption that robots and automation would replace frontline industrial jobs. Not that long ago, there was this idea that technology would, within a 20-year span, be cheap enough and be fully autonomous to essentially revolutionize the entire industrial operations business. That has, of course, yet come to pass. But what's happened is it's resulted in a lack of adequate technological support for frontline industrial employees and their managers. And I'm sure some of you have seen that today.
The solutions are out there. They just need to be selected and deployed.
So another roadblock, the data silo trap. IT leaders purchase point solutions for their business partners to solve for any number of operational improvement projects. How do you avoid creating silos, or even worse, having multiple copies of the same data just floating around?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this graphic is the simplistic version of a typical connected environment. The ERP typically sits on top, managing master data, planning, scheduling, and finance. And it's a centralized system for most of the people that work in the offices, right? The folks on the shop floor, you don't want them in your ERP screens. Many factories have deployed also like a SCADA system, SCADA layer for HMI, machine controls. Many will have an OPC-UA environment to collect that IoT data from the machines and their test equipment. Many have other point solutions for EHS and other critical workflows to manage their operations. But with all these siloed point solutions, you create a vicious cycle of poor quality data and conflicting sources of truth, right? But leveraging APIs and well thought out data flows that support your business logic is effective. You make that data work hard, just like the puzzle pieces and the connected neural network from the earlier Hutchinson case study.
Yeah, absolutely. That feedback loop that we're talking about, that is so essential for that connective tissue needed in these industrial settings. And it prevents what I like to call that muddy middle, which are the challenges and the complexities that very common. They always arrive in that gap between communication and operational dynamics between systems and employees.
Yeah, it's important to focus on the outcomes and then configure your business workflows and APIs and technology to support it.
So labor shortages and skills gaps. It's not just about retiring workers. I know that's a theme we're often hearing, but it's also about the expectation of that next generation coming in. They're digital natives. They demand tools. There's tons of opportunities for IoT and a digital factory to kind of work as this talent magnet and a skill gap bridge by digitizing and standardizing expertise. And again, IoT can really help clear out that muddy middle aspect of industrial work. It can also really foster collaboration, transparency, and understanding between frontline employees and management, allowing for that real-time communication, feedback mechanisms, and really just a more effective onboarding, less time spent on manual data entry, overall, just improving employee productivity across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's on the screen here are some solid examples of, deploying an MES or a connected worker platform, including faster onboarding for new employees, ensuring that they remain certified to complete the tasks that are being asked of them, while remaining compliant, right? Whilst your business is remaining compliant and that you're meeting your customers' expectations. So time, costly asset, will be saved by managing these process execution controls and essentially doing the right thing first time. In turn, you'll minimize waste, you'll reduce downtime of your assets, and you'll drive throughput. Everyone is obviously motivated to move the needle in these areas. I will now walk you through a couple of examples of a connected solution, first starting with ShopView, our manufacturing execution system. So what's on your screen here today are the building blocks of ShopView to optimize your people, your processes, your orders, your machines, and your materials. Our customers adopt ShopView in three fundamental areas. The first is labor management, represented on the left-hand side, where they manage all your shop activity, sometimes with integrated time and attendance and streamlined workflows for the supervisors, for the operators, and for HR and payroll. As you move to the right and kind of migrate up the maturity curve, so to speak, you're getting into digital factory and advanced manufacturing. You're moving away from that paper traveler and into paperless factory capabilities. You're integrating with machines, getting full genealogy and traceability of all of your processes, and everything that's gone into making your products. We also deliver digital work instructions in labor-intensive business units. We're spoon-feeding operators to execute machine changeovers, to do complex assembly, or to do FAI or in-process WIP inspections. We also have a comprehensive suite of smart factory APIs with a business logic layer to integrate with your other systems, much like the previous slide. Whether it's ERP, whether it's a PLM, a quality management system, a maintenance management system. And then we're talking about humans here too. So having a tight integration with your HRIS system, or many other solutions, right, that you need to run your operations.
So Neil, just a question here. Would a customer, would they be able to begin with step 3 if, let's say, going paperless was their first priority, for example?
Absolute, kind of, yes, absolutely. They can skip over the labor management piece, but the shop activity element of that is a prerequisite. This is the download of released orders, operations, bills of material from the ERP, and ensuring that the shop, the factory, is executing that scheduled workload through a dispatch list.
Gotcha.
So this on your screen now is an example of a unified manufacturing OS, producing something that many of us love, being beer. In this case, Possible drives frontline execution, things like work instructions, quality control, real-time issue resolution, and it works across brewing, packaging, robotics, and quality inspection. And we have a case study on the next slide that will talk about that. ShopView would handle MES functions like process control, machine scheduling, and workforce orchestration. Our IoT solution called Linsight feeds real-time sensor data into the system, giving supervisors and operators live visibility into machine health, predictive maintenance triggers like an overheating motor or a vibration on a transmission line, and obviously performance analytics.
Neil, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're seeing here is that basically everything, including human work, machine operations, IoT data, that now flows into a single integrated view, and that facilitates real-time decision making.
Yeah, that's correct. This level of integration is just a taste of what's coming from the CAI team as we continue to invest in our products to provide even more value to our customers. So back to Possible, our connected worker platform. It's often deployed quickly to solve one of these documented workflows that you see on your screen here. Safety is often a good place to start, right? For example, with 5S and PPE checklists. Maintenance execution is another good one, right? Whether it's standard PM rounds or whether it's reactive maintenance when your IoT and your MES solutions report a machine down. Again, another really high value use case. Production and quality workflows, they can be simple, but they're so valuable. Again, getting away from those paper and clipboards, right, that you see still walking around through so many manufacturing environments. I have a simple demo to walk you through now that will show what the product looks like in the hands of the users. So I guarantee that everyone on this webinar and their businesses have a digital locker full of standard operating procedures, right, or SOPs. So let our AI engine ingest those existing documents, import them into a JSON format needed for our Possible authoring tool, and then take them into maintenance, edit, revision control within Possible. Release these, revision control these plans, and then put them in the hands of your frontline workers, right? On their cell phones, on their tablets, put it at the place of where they're executing their jobs. And as a result of that, you'll get good quality data at your fingertips. You'll get performance data, you'll get issue data, you'll remember stage 2 from that maturity curve. You'll really get to understand the why on that data journey, why that adverse activity is happening, and use your skilled team members to understand that why, and then drive continuous improvement, drive changes to your operating procedures to improve your business performance.
Ah, this is a brand that I recognize.
Indeed, yeah. Possible is deployed in over 120 breweries. They are using 40 different use cases. So from that previous slide with all the different use cases, they have 40 different use cases. They've got about 10,000 users, and they've executed millions of jobs since they've been a Possible customer. My favorite quote from the Heineken team is, "If Possible goes down, we stop brewing beer." And no one wants that. There will be riots in the streets.
That's
so
right.
My takeaway is that we're essential to maintenance, quality, and production. And Possible has driven over 25 million euros in annual productivity gains for the Heineken team. So you can say the CAI Possible is mission critical to Heineken and beer making. This next case study is a Technip FMC, and it's a global French-American business. They're an oil and gas company, and they provide services to the energy industry. An example of something that they make is a tube hanging, handling, and test tool that connects deep sea well head to the surface. It's like bringing water from underground to your house. Their use cases, they had legacy paper-based processes that took 52 minutes to complete. And remember earlier on, there was a perception that using technology would take longer than just looking at a checklist. Oh, I've got to click through, I've got to do this. After digitizing it and using Possible, they're executing the same process, but they're doing it in 25 minutes. A nearly 60% improvement, right? Fully tracked, fully validated, and reportable right, through those BI dashboard tools in real time. So scaling savings for Technic across their 9 sites, I think it was, 9 service centers with about 57 like champion trainers, super users. They were able to eliminate 90,000 labor hours annually, which for them equated to about $6.5 million US dollars in savings. So again, another great ROI business case, and another reason not to be scared or intimidated, right, by digitizing processes and putting technology in the hands of your frontline workers. So we've got a few more minutes left. We're going to transition into takeaways and next steps that you, the audience, can do. And then Rosanna's going to wrap up with an overview of some IoT trends. So once you are ready to take the next step in your digital transformation, you'll talk to a bunch of different partners. You'll select the partners that you're comfortable with and you're ready to work with and ready to start your journey. If you manage the deployment, you find your high value business processes where you have hidden factory, you have opportunities to improve and get a fast time to savings and ROI, that's a really good start. Start with your biggest challenges. And then by focusing on error proofing your processes, collecting that good quality data to identify losses in the hidden factory, your performance, your OEE, your bottom line is going to improve. By eliminating, for all the IT guys on this call, by eliminating your data silos, integrating your systems, and establishing governance around the digital transformation program, you'll be on the road to kind of drive site conformity for those of you that are working with multiple manufacturing locations. So in summary, right, the hidden factory for most of our customers is closely aligned with lean methodologies, right? Identifying those issues and resolving it. Identifying the waste. Maybe it was previously hidden. You didn't have real-time data. You didn't have visibility. So you unlock that visibility into where the issues are, or they were too late. You were identifying them too late to actually do anything about them. And then improve your processes to mitigate or even ideally eliminate those losses. Rosanna, I think you're going to finish up the session with a review of IoT trends. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. All right, so I just wanted to leave everyone with some takeaways here. Again, you can reference the report that will be linked at the end of this webinar that you'll be able to access. But I wanted to share some additional data that really highlights the IoT trends that we are seeing. So IoT adoption, it is very real, but maturity, it's very uneven. Nearly half of organizations, that's 49%, they report active IoT deployments beyond pilot stages. Yet only 29% say that their projects are in an advanced stage. What this gap suggests to us is that while IoT is widely adopted, many of these deployments, they're remaining in this mid-stage maturity, right? With strategy and scale still very much evolving. We also see that top IoT drivers are cost savings and process automation, not innovation. So we saw that in a lot of the data here today. Cost reduction is 42% and operational efficiency at 41% are the leading motivators for IoT initiatives, while competitive differentiation and ESG goals rank lower. What this suggests is that most organizations, they still view IoT through a more pragmatic lens, rather than being this sort of transformation lever, at least for now. Autonomy remains aspirational despite strong interest, right? We see more than 85% of organizations that express interest in autonomous operations, with 43% actively planning or deploying, and another 44% exploring feasibility. Yet, only 5%, that's kind of shocking, 5% report full autonomy today, and just 15% operate at a semi-autonomous level. This gap here, this disconnection between ambition and reality, it really reflects the complexity of integration. A lot of what we talked about, the cultural resistance and that need for clear ROI, with each of these barriers cited by more than a third of our respondents. Lastly, IoT use cases, they've been shifting, right, from visibility to control. While early IoT deployments, they really focused primarily on monitoring and data collection. And now what we're seeing is that organizations are prioritizing use cases that they enable optimization and automation. In manufacturing specifically, we saw 45% of respondents reporting that implementing production monitoring, that's 45%, they're now reporting implementing production monitoring, and nearly as many of them are deploying predictive maintenance and intelligent logistics. So these use cases, they're going beyond visibility to actively improve performance. Those are just some key trends to think about, and maybe it resonates with some of you today.
Yeah, that's great insight, and I appreciate your feedback there. So, for those of you that have an interest in talking to me or one of my colleagues, here's some contact information. There's links in the PDF of the PowerPoint that you can download from the on-demand webinar to schedule a demo for SharpView, schedule a demo for Possible, or reach out at info@caisoft.com.
That concludes our webinar today. Thank you, Neil. As a reminder, the on-demand version of this event will be available shortly. And on behalf of CAI Software and S&P Global Market Intelligence, I want to say thank you for attending today, and please have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.